Hi guys, this is Jackie Cooper with JCooperTravels, and I'm doing the second part of my podcast with Paul Hemphill. He actually is an author, an entrepreneur, and a former teacher. And we did another podcast which explained about his special program that he developed to teach and help teens learn more about American history. And this part of our podcast is talks about travel, which is something that's close to my heart. I've been traveling with my daughter for years, and there are still places on my bucket list that I would like to go. Paul, tell me where, we were just talking a second ago, tell me where have you traveled and where do you want to go?
Well, I've been to Australia, and the city of Sydney is absolutely a gorgeous city. And if you like botanical gardens, you have to visit Melbourne.
Okay.
Uh, it's an absolute must visit. And if you're really adventurous, you want to go to Alice Springs, which is in the middle of the continent. And as people who go there say, it's in the middle of nowhere because Alice Springs is just. I think there's probably like 10 people who live in this little town, and but it's a tourist site. I've never been to Alice Springs because I had no ambition to go there, but I wanted to go to Sydney and Melbourne, which I really enjoyed. And then if you get a chance to go to Viet Nam, where I spent some time, it is a beautiful country. I mean, it is gorgeous there. And I went there for different reasons back in the early 70s. And while I was there, I thought to myself, what a tragedy it is to have a war in such a beautiful place to live. And so I understand. My son was there last year, visiting places where I was stationed when I was there 20, 30 years ago. And his remarks were just very, very positive about the country. Now, where I want to go is I would love to go and visit our national parks. I have never been to any of our national parks, and when I was watching the Ken Burns series on the national parks on public television, I couldn't believe that I had never visited these places. That the scenery is just gorgeous, and you come to realize that God is quite an architect, of nature. And the other place I'd like to go, and that I've never been to before, is Philadelphia. I mean, I've never seen I've been to Philadelphia, but I've never seen the Liberty Bell. I've never been to Independence Hall, and I absolutely have to get to those places because, as David McCullough, America's favorite historian, who just wrote the book, and I'm reading it now, called 1776, he actually said in an interview at the Smithsonian that we really need to visit historic places because when we get to those places that we read about as children, we have a sense of connection to those events that we really can't put into words. It's almost like a spiritual experience that you can only have when you visit these places. So when I heard him say that, I thought, I'm going to Philadelphia. It's a 5-hour drive from where I live here in Boston, and it's really worth the time. I just have to do it.
I agree with you totally. I mean, I have a daughter and we've traveled all over. And when she was looking at colleges, we did the college tour. And one of the things that I made sure of is that when we went up to the Pennsylvania and Philadelphia side to check out different colleges there, that we included historic sites. So we did
Oh,
see the
great.
Liberty Bell, and we went on various tours, walking tours, and the same thing in Boston. We went on various historic tours, and even here, because I'm in the Washington area, so we've gone to the various historic houses, from Washington to we drove to see Franklin's house. I mean, again, when you hear about the personalities and then you go to their homes and you see the inventions that were created and what we take for granted in some houses, like the doors that slide in and come out. They invented that. You know, there were so
Yeah.
many cool things that are just part of our architecture now that they created. And it also, just like you have said in your history program, it brings it to life. So I definitely agree. And I agree on going to the national parks. I mean, we've been to the Grand Canyon. We haven't been to Bryce and some of the others, but we've been to Yosemite. And our country, I have, just like you, I haven't gone to Australia or Vietnam, but I've been to Singapore and China and also to Europe. Our country we often go outside of our country to see beautiful landscape, but we in our country have such a variety, and to explore our own, land here. It's quite beautiful, quite
Oh,
beautiful.
sure. Yeah.
So one of the things that I just want to share with everyone is, again, they'll be on the podcast block above the YouTube, as well as on the podcast, information on how to contact Paul about his Inspiration for Teens book and program. And you'll also have access to the free member-only portal that I'm sharing with you. There is no cost. It's I Go for Less. You can save up to 35% on both local travel as well as global travel, both from excursions to hotels to homes by owners to rentals, car rentals, and rideshare and that type of thing. So definitely check it out. There is a price match guarantee, so it is lower than Expedia and Priceline. And, again, if you have any questions about travel, let me know, and I'll be happy to do some research. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing a little bit of your insight as to where to go for Australia. I definitely did not know about that location in the middle of the continent. I think that's awesome. I'm definitely going to be checking that out
Yeah.
because Australia is definitely on my bucket list. Vietnam is on the list too, but Australia and New Zealand are the next major places I would like to go and visit.
Great idea. Great idea.
So thanks so much, Paul, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.